Hey, you are listening to Up Biscazing, a horror podcast where we celebrate all things spooky and mental health.
And I'm Billy, your co-host.
I'm sure the co-host Josh. Mark is not with us. He is under the weather. But we are joined by our first feature film of this year's Horrific Hope Film Festival. We're kicking off not one series, but two series. This episode with our looks into the Omen and also introducing you guys to the filmmakers that make up this year's Horrific Hope Film Festival. And I am joined today along not only with Billy, but also director behind our first feature, Bloody-Bridget, Richard-Elfman, and his wife and leading lady, Anastasia-Elfman.
Hello.
Hey.
How are you guys this evening?
Doing well.
I have to ask this right out the gate. When it comes to, well, before we start kind of jumping into like the craziness of this movie and like picking it apart, can you just give us a brief like summary, like what this movie's about?
Okay, well, a Haitian voodoo deity mistakes a red-haired burlesque dancer for his long-lost wife, and he turns her into a Valentine vampire. Well, what is that? You shall find out. Sucking blood only whets her appetite. She must eat their beating hearts, and they all deserve it. There you go. There you go.
Billy, you want to take the first question?
Sure. I want to ask, what made you do a story dealing with the voodoo and the Mama Bridget and things like that?
Well, it's actually, okay, I'm a Latin percussionist. And when you get into the rhythm, you actually get into African folklore and religions and this and that. And just like, okay, if you go to Jamaica, there's Rastafarians, and they kind of worship Haile Selassie from the Emperor of Ethiopia in the 20s and the 30s. Okay, so Haile Selassie's name was Tafari, and Ross is king, and that's Rastafarian. That's where they came from. So in Haiti, there's a similar kind of, call it cultural appropriation from Ireland. Is Baron Samedi, the deity of kind of life and death, top hat, cigar, rum, women. His wife in Haiti is the red-haired Saint Bridget of Ireland, who was originally the Celtic goddess Bridget. So in the Haitian ceremonies, there's this red-haired lady. So this is kind of loosely inspired by Haitian folklore. And the Haitians in the film are actually played by Haitians. We're politically correct.
That was gonna be actually one of the things I was interested about too, was knowing when you think of like specifically Haitian and I just feel like specifically with Haitians, the subgenre it often gets linked with is like zombies. You look at films like the, White Zombie and the Serpent and the Rainbow, but to juxtapose that with a musical elements, burlesque, and vampires, and kind of throw all of this into just absolute like a fuel through like a fever dream. What was the writing process like, and the crafting the story like for you, to kind of take all of those elements and do something as unique as Bloody-Bridget?
Okay, now I have a very deep, complex writing process.
Okay.
I have a little garret on our roof deck overlooking the Hollywood Hills. Former tenant John Lennon actually composed some music there. So it's a tiny garret with a window. And I bring in a case of scotch and a box of cigars, and 3 weeks later I have a script.
God, I love that.
I'm not joking. I've been writing for a long time.
That's amazing. Did you guys, with bringing on here, obviously that first question kind of unloaded into a lot of folklore and a lot of history. Was this a process that you kind of were already familiar with a lot of that stuff, or did you have a lot of time like researching it before actually like writing the script?
Well, I've been into Afro-Latin percussion since I was 15. So when you get into the music, like the different rhythms actually come from different deities from West Africa.
Interesting.
So I ended up, through music, getting into the kind of ethnomusicology and the folklore and all of that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I had a bit of background in it.
Now, I really like the special effects and all how you were doing the hearts, where she'd take it out, eat the heart and everything. What was the hearts actually made of that she was actually eating? Was it like food, like she was actually able to eat it, or was it just...
What, you want me to answer?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was told in the beginning, so I'm a vegetarian. I was told in the beginning they were going to be kind of like a gelatin or something like that, because we kind of shot all the kills back to back. So it was like 6 kills in one day. And so I was told it was going to be like some kind of a edible thing, like mold, but it ended up being like latex and foam, and it was terrible. And one of the worst parts was that it was huge, and when I couldn't get my fangs into it to rip it apart because it was so thick. Like they did like several layers of latex over the foam. And so they had to, on set, they had to like score it open. So like they're making these like millions of micro fibers of like foam that get into my gums and get into my teeth. So it was like a terrible, terrible situation, but we got the shot.
Wow.
So. Anna's a trooper. You have no idea. She's a trooper.
It sounds like it, because those shots, yeah.
Well, picture this. Okay, so she's there and she's got like Gorilla Tape to hold like the tubes for the blood and whatever. So then she has to do this, and she's almost retching, throwing up, breaking her nails, like trying to rip it off. And then like we finish one, rip off the tape, rush her into a cold shower. Next, action. 14 hours.
That's
my hat
crazy.
off to you.
Thank you. Yeah. It was luckily I had a really great effects crew who were there and like completely had my back through it. But it was a lot of back to back, and it wasn't just like ripping. It was like ripping through clothes and like, because we had like the dummy chest. So it was like ripping through like thick latex and stuff. And so it was like, I had to, because my character had nails. So I wanted to make it a little bit different for when she became a demon. So I had like fake longer nails. And so those would rip off, and then it would like rip. It was just like, it was so terrible, but we got the shot, and it's now wonderful.
Oh, Richard, you brought this up originally, that Anastasia's character in this movie is a burlesque dancer who, not really giving away any spoilers, but the opening number of the film is kind of like this horror kind of like number where it's hard to explain. I don't want to
Horror
give it away.
burlesque.
Yeah, horror burlesque is like the best way. I get we kind of get to see like different like there's like 2 or 3 different shots in here that are each telling like different stories. Is it the same production, or is this kind of like how did you guys manage to separate the different burlesque numbers from one another?
God, I don't know. We had Anna choreographs, and she had another choreographer she was working with. I pretty much delegated that to the ladies.
Okay.
Yeah,
Anastasia, that question goes to you.
Like action. Whoa. Cut.
Yeah, well, my background is I've classically trained in ballet since I was 3, so I grew up in the theater. And so I have a huge dance background. But for this, because we self-financed the whole film, and so I was also juggling like doing producer stuff. So it was like I had to kind of give leeway to a few things that I usually handle myself, like the choreography. So we had a wonderful choreographer. And so it's just kind of like Ricky likes to give kind of like jumping off notes, and then I don't even remember what the notes were for that, but it was just like wild stuff.
Well, I wanted to open with like some Goonie movements, which we did kind of.
Yeah.
That was my move.
Yeah. Yeah, you can take credit for that. It was all him.
Yeah, whenever you see like stooge-like moves in my films, I choreograph those myself.
Well, she answered one of my questions if she had a background with dance and all that, because I noticed like the dance and everything in there. It looked like stuff that, you know.
Oh yeah, thank you. And usually when we like go to festivals and screenings, I'll do like a wild, bloody burlesque to open up the film, and there'll be like a victim in the audience, and I'll drag him on stage and rip out his heart. So it's been fun.
That's awesome.
Well,
Josh, here's for next time.
Anastasia's background, along with classical ballet and classical cello, she's from a Marine family and was at young Marine camp every weekend of her youth. And she has almost like a samurai work ethic. And she could get injured. She could throw up off the set. She doesn't let me know. She just does the work. So I got a warrior here.
He does, yeah. No, I always saw him. Oh. Yeah, he got away with a lot. Like with this film, with the back-to-back kills and everything. I don't think any other actress would have done that, because it was like no suburbs, like bring in the next bad guy. Okay, let's go. You know.
Some in like 2024, some of the bad guys are like, they'll have like these like lines, like specifically like the the guy that essentially tries to pick Bridget up as like a thinking she's a prostitute or her boss. A lot of these guys are just like real assholes, and so by the time they start entering the phase of their demise, it's well warranted. And this movie with that element kind of almost feels like a throwback to like a little bit of like a simpler time when we were, allowed to kind of build up the bad guys and like make them really worthy of the deaths.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I was going to say that we actually let the bad guys be bad guys so that the audience is rooting for their death when it comes, It's like, I feel like a lot of times in cinema, it's like everybody wants, everybody to be comfortable, but it's like you've got to be able to see a bad guy to warrant the death, or it's like then bloody-bridget's the bad guy. You know what I mean? Like you've got to give her somebody to be vengeful and protect people from.
I mean, also it's fun to see a really deserving bad person get it really badly.
Yeah. It's very satisfying in this movie to see some of the deaths that occur in the ways that they occur.
And the feedback, some of the lines that they give you where the bad guys have said something and you've turned around and twisted it right back on them. I love that.
Oh yeah, these like one-liners. Rick is he is so funny with writing these. They were so great.
Go ahead, Billy.
I was going to say I was waiting for "Eat Your Heart Out," but that was the other line I don't remember hearing in there.
Oh,
it may have been, but I just didn't remember it.
I mean, who's the doofus now?
Yeah,
exactly. A bit
high. Now, who's the pitcher and who's the catcher?
Must be that Southern cooking.
Yeah,
that's the best one. I think one of the questions that Bridget has a very defining look when she kind of gets into her quote unquote final form. It's one of the featured on the poster. It's all over the marketing for the film. What was the process like for coming up with that finalized version of the character? Was that the first one, or did you guys kind of go through different versions of that look before settling on the one we have?
Well, we worked with Roy Kinnear and Soda Effects. We had a great practical effects team that normally work on bigger films. But, we worked something out, I wanted something where she could still be expressive with her face. Then we had the wig made on Hollywood Boulevard, some little shop.
Well, yeah, Rick had like very specific ideas, and also we were kind of looking at it from a practical standpoint too, because we were shooting the kills on a green screen, so we couldn't have like it frizzy. We had to have these like sharp points so that it was easier for the editing later on with the VFX. And then for the look, I mean, I come from a practical effects, costuming, all kinds of background. So I was working with our team from SOTA with Kenneth Calhoun and Jake Barber. And, we kind of like we connected and came up with that. And then, yeah. So there she is.
Yeah, I remember getting the submission before even like watching the film for the first time and just seeing that image and just being like, what am I getting ready to get myself into? And I remember just being like, I cannot wait to watch this with an audience because this movie is batshit insane. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. It's the climax of this movie alone is just wow. Like, we knew that we had to make this one of our midnight showings, and so this is capping off our Friday Fevers block, which you guys can get tickets for right now. But if you guys had to give audiences a quote-unquote warning of some of the craziness that Billy and I have talked about during this interview, what would be the warning, or what would you guys tell our audience that would be coming to see this movie?
I don't know. It's a fun, wild film. Wall-to-wall kick-ass music. It's fun. It's underneath everything is we're entertainers, and we like to create things that are entertaining. And this is we've won 14 festivals. We've been Canada to Brazil and everywhere in between.
Nice.
So, by the way, she caused a mini riot in Brazil. She was mobbed by women as well as men. Oh, you have to kill my boyfriend like that.
They're like super supportive. They love me there. Can't wait to go back.
One thing, it's
awesome.
I love Canada, I love Brazil, but Brazil had the better percussionists.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah. Who would have thought?
You learn something new every day. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break. What you guys are getting ready to hear, this is a band called Bend the Knee. They are co-headlining our St. Patty's Day celebration, March 16th here in Richmond at the Garden Grove Brewing Company. More information is going to be in the description below. The song is called Prodigal Son, and we will be right back to talk about The Omen.
How many days did I screw it up? Inflicting pain on the ones I love, made the way that I'm burning up. Sick and tired of the prodigal son. I bought a pistol and I wanna put it to my tongue. Split the index and the rest is fun. Save me dealing with the spread of guns. Sick and tired of the prodigal son. I'm a punk, my insides are forever bottled up. Wanna fly wings, made a switchblade. Cut.
If you or someone you know is listening to this podcast right now and you're struggling with suicide, addiction, self-harm, or depression, we encourage you guys to please reach out. This is the heartbeat of why we do what we do. Suicide is currently the 10th leading cause of death in the United States, and as of this recording, there are 132 suicides that take place each and every day on American soil. And when you scale back internationally, there are 800,000 successful suicides. That is one death roughly every 40 seconds. So if you or someone you know is struggling, you guys can go to victimsandvillains.net/hope. That resource is going to be right in the description wherever you guys are currently listening or streaming this. There you'll find resources that include the National Suicide Lifeline, which is 1-800-273-8255. You can also text HELP to 741-741. We also have a plethora of other resources, including churches, getting connected with counselors, LGBT resources like the Trevor Project, and also veteran hotline as well. Please, if you hear nothing else in the show, understand that you listening to this right now, have value and worth. We get it. Suicide, depression, mental health, these are hard topics, and the stigma around them doesn't make it any easier. But please consider the resources right in the descriptions below wherever you guys are listening, because once again, you have value and you have worth. So please stay with us. We are back with the Elfmans, and we are talking about The Omen. We are kicking off our Omen series, running parallel with our filmmaker focus series, the way that we did last year with The Evil Dead. But yeah, this I'm new to this franchise, so be gentle on me. Yeah, Billy, why don't you kick us off, man?
No problem. So, for anybody that hasn't seen The Omen, it's Damien being born, the baby switched out and given to the wrong family, basically, and it's nothing but trouble from there. Everything falls apart once he turns, what was it, 7 or 9? I'd have to double check. 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen them all. Sorry.
Just rewatched it a couple hours ago. So.
Yeah, at 5, everything starts going for a turn. One of the things, and I had to double check on this, was his original nanny. I didn't realize that because she looked at the dog, that the dog kind of gave her the hint to go, hang herself. Yeah, that one hit.
Yeah, especially when you're on a podcast talking about mental health and suicide prevention. Well, I guess out there in Hollywood, what is y'all's relationship with The Omen?
It was a great horror film. I saw it years ago, but it stood out. I mean, that's a great film, The Omen.
Yeah, classic horror story.
Did you know The Omen actually came out on the heels of The Exorcist? They were expected to be huge just because of that.
Wasn't aware of that.
Huh.
Yeah, I think it's like a 2 or 3 year difference. But yeah, this movie feels almost structurally kind of sound like it is with The Exorcist. So it would be interesting to kind of juxtapose them back to back.
Well, I perform exorcisms periodically.
Please go on.
That's very simple. I go into the thing, I blow cigar smoke, and then I stamp my feet and go, "Get the fuck out of here!"
He does that.
I know, it works
every morning. That's how we wake up over here.
Yeah.
I bet that's got to take some getting used to.
No, not really.
Although sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night where she levitates over me with the fangs.
That doesn't happen. He's fine. Look at him. He's happy.
That's as long as he's being good, right?
Yeah.
He's not being on your bad side.
She comes for those that treat her badly. So
I mean, you guys have seen
rumor
what I
has it.
Yeah.
like. I feel like the work speaks for itself.
The Omen's one of those. It's one of those hard movies to kind of talk about. Just because I'm kind of curious with you guys in particular with a movie like The Exorcist and The Omens too. Like, what is if you guys don't mind getting a little bit vulnerable, a little bit personal? Like, what is your background with the subject of like religion? If you don't mind my asking.
Okay, so I was born on 103rd Street in Watts. It was entirely African American, except for one other Caucasian family on the block, and they were, God, I hate to use the term, hillbillies from Arkansas, and they beat me up for killing Christ, and I didn't even know who Christ was when I was 4 years old. Okay, so that was my introduction to religion, I suppose.
That's fair.
And then, okay, so I grew up in the 50s, and along with racism, the anti-Semitism was virulent. And it drove me over the edge for a couple of years, where I had like a very troubled teens. And then I got very athletic, and I paid the fuckers back. There we go.
Makes sense.
It's, the world's a bumpy place,
Yeah.
but I was so affected. I went from a straight A student into a, kind of rebellious. My parents couldn't control me, but it was, a crisis, from being attacked.
It makes sense to me.
I survived, but, I had a couple bumpy years there.
Billy, what about you? I don't think I've ever asked you that question.
I mean, I've gone to church and all that, but I've never, deep in religion or anything. I mean, my big thing was, my dad was military, so we moved around a lot. Every like 3-4 years, we were moving. So I got the bumps, the bruises, the new kid routine all the time. So
yeah, and that affects you. You're growing up. You don't realize the world's a big place. You're living in a fishbowl, and so that's your whole universe that you can't escape from.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you could tell the difference. Like, for instance, I lived in Germany for 3 years. So the people over there were a lot different than the people over here as far as the way they treated people, the way they talked, and everything else. When we were there, the wall was still up. The Berlin Wall. The month after we came back, they tore it down.
Wow.
That gives you a time frame of when we were there.
Huge.
So, I mean, that's a little bit about my background. Not really much religion, but.
Well, I don't know. My family, I call them secular Jews, both school teachers. My mother was an English teacher, and she went on to publish 16 novels, 2 Emmys, post-age 50. So the religion in the house was probably character development and story structure.
Yeah, I'm always fascinated to hear about like movies, how different people interpret movies like The Omen or The Exorcist or The Nun or a lot of the other films that we've seen, Conjuring, and it's particularly like the subject matter that this movie addresses, where you're in the center of it, you have a character of Robert Thorne that is predominantly not a God-fearing man, but is kind of almost like forced to be that way when he's discovered that he's basically lost his son unbeknownst to him, and he's been replaced by the Antichrist. And kind of that has that world shaken.
That's kind of rough when that one happens.
Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah.
How do you recover from that, and then you die in the end?
Oh, spoiler alert.
and the kid goes from being with the politician to the president's kid at that point. So.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know if things are getting any better. Like not wanting to get into that.
The prophecy does say that he will come from the world of politics, according to this film's mythology. So one could only or know. So
it was rumored to be cursed at one point, right?
It is featured on. Yeah, it is featured on one of Shudder's cursed films. A great series on Shudder.
It feels very on brand for them.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, this movie is pretty straightforward, Josh. So
yeah. Well, I think it'll be a shorter episode this time around. You guys can join us in 2 weeks when we jump into Damien, the Omen 2. And I lament my hatred for that movie. I love this movie. The sequel is rough. But you guys can catch Bloody Bridget. It is opening up our Friday Fevers block on Horrific Hope 2024 this year. You guys can go ahead and get tickets now. We'll provide links in the show notes below. But Richard, Anastasia, where can people find you online?
Well, we're both on social media. So we're both on Facebook, Richard-Elfman, Anastasia-Elfman. The films that we have, they all have their own pages. So bloody-bridget, Forbidden Zone, Aliens, Clowns, and Geeks. And on Instagram as well. So Richard-Elfman. I'm kind of tricky. I'm under my stage name, Dahlia Demont. And then the films, they all have their own pages. Bloody-Bridget Film on Instagram and Forbidden Zone, Aliens, Clowns, and Geeks. And yeah, so we're really active there. That's where we go touring with our films. We do live pre-shows, wild events. And so follow us there and keep updated.
Yeah, if their social media coverage is even a quarter as crazy as this movie is, highly recommend it. We'll provide links in the show notes below. Billy, where can people find you online?
Of course, I'm on Facebook, WTaber3.
All right. Well, you guys can follow me. I am on Letterboxd and my cinema journey at Captain Nostalgia. Once again, we are leaving you guys with Bend the Knee again. You guys can check out our interview with them. Click the show notes below. This song is called The Darkness Shines Your Name. And until next time, remember, the longer you gaze into the abyss, the more the abyss gazes back into you.
Fucking attitude, bitch. Use your anything about it. Every time I come around, I see a light switch from black to white, but I found a new switch. You'll get a face full of red, anything like that. You self-absorbed piece of shit I can't deal with. All of your baggage is driving me insane. So are you running? Good on you. You shouldn't want to stay. You wouldn't want to stay away and see your fall. You want to